Live from Kakariko Village. Broadcast throughout the Retroverse, transmitted to the real world via a maze of wires connecting a Super Nintendo to a Wii, to a Wi-Fi network, and finally to the Internet. The Techno Funk Boy presents the Retro Zoo Super Show. Now here are your hosts, Kai and Steven.
That clap was really loud. I don't know if you heard that on your end, but... Oh. Are you paying attention over there?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So, this is the Retro Zoo Super Show. I am one of your hosts, Kai. We're joined by...
none other than Steven himself.
That was better than last time.
Well, you told me I needed to start introducing myself with more gusto, right?
Right, yes. Yeah, so right as we're starting, like drum counts us down and then gives us little clap to start us off, and it was super loud, and so kind of threw off my game completely.
So I don't look at us clappers.
Please don't start with the subroutines again. We just got them fixed.
Well, the clapper subroutine is an important one because it actually is something utilized every single episode.
That's true.
So I'll just make a few tweaks to it. I'll make the clapper. I can reduce the sound volume, maybe make it more striking but less noisy. Is that possible?
Oh, goodness. And as we've mentioned, Drum is in the room as our producer and our drummer. Drum, how are you doing today?
And our friend.
I am functioning normally.
That's really good to hear. So, actually, a lot of people were asking about what happened after the big robot battle. And
yeah, that was intense.
Yeah. And the answer is
are we ready
not
to
really
talk about
anything.
that, or I mean,
there's not a whole lot to tell. So back in episode 50, we had a showdown live on the air, because come rain, come shine, we're going to broadcast an episode, except for 2 weeks ago because my tummy was hurting. Anyways,
yeah.
No, so we had a showdown between Murd and Drum, and Murd got the upper hand on Drum after Drum got the upper hand on Murd several times, but Murd kept evading him, and Murd finally got the upper hand, but all of a sudden, Drum was saved by Mega Man. And Murd was then rescued by someone. I don't know who. We could not figure that out.
There was a kind of a dense fog, if you recall, and
I wasn't
whatever
there.
Majestic figure.
Well, actually, you weren't even there. You were
the fog.
You were still driving over there, right?
What?
You were still driving over there, right?
Well, but I've heard, that there was this cloud of majesty and somebody heroically, even though he's the villain, as we see him, rescued or saved for a later date. The one we call Murd.
Right. So
But it was majestic. It was a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah. So our reporter Stephen Stevenson was over there, and he witnessed the whole thing. I don't remember him calling it majestic.
Well,
but he did say that something came out of the fog and grabbed him and
he's
pulled
not.
him.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
So what? Well, I mean, obviously Steven got there before I did. Stefan was actually behind the fence, so he had to run around the fence. But by the time the two of them got there, Murd and this mysterious figure nowhere to be found. Mega Man also safe.
They were probably safe somewhere else, you know.
Okay.
Murd and the mysterious figure.
Well, I mean, I should hope not.
I'm just saying
but...
they probably were, but you know, we don't know. I guess they could be. They could have just died right there.
Well, that would be great.
Would it? I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yes.
It would.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mega Man also was gone. Just Drum was there on the rocks and grass, battered, broken,
beaten,
other B words, breakdown. No, that's the backlog thing. Sorry. And then we took him into the VCR repair demand for a breakdown. And
we brought him to the
and then he got put back together. So so those are all things that happened, and so it's been a few weeks and we really haven't had any update. We haven't heard anything from Murd at all.
He's gone.
Apparently gone, and
for now.
Something tells me though. Something tells me that something.
What is that?
It's just that it's that kind of that elfish instinct nagging, that I have. That
nagging feeling of incompletion.
Well, no, I mean, I was going to say, something tells me that this is the end of it. This is, hard stop on this storyline, and we'll
but
never
your spider
hear from.
Sense tells you differently.
Your
spidey sense is tingling.
Well, my elfish sense says, no, this is over. It's done with. We can all get on with our lives. I'm getting married, we got to keep planning for that. I'm sure nothing will disrupt the wedding, since everything is right with the world again. Everything is right with the world.
You say that with a little bit of doubt, so but that's fine, because you're gonna get married, and I'll be there, and Drum will be there, and the rest of the crew will be there.
Yeah.
And we won't have to worry about Drum. I mean, Murd crashing the wedding with any accomplices.
See, Murd is so far out of mind that you even forgot his name. It's great. It's like a weight off the shoulders. It's really wonderful.
Unless I was thinking that Drum and Murd are going to be interchangeable at some point, because there's some kind of latent programming in Drum that can change him into Murd.
That would be really weird.
That would be weird.
Huh. Okay. Well, what have you been up to, man?
Oh man, dude, as a little update, I know a few episodes ago I mentioned, I think I asked the audience about what should I do if I sold my weapons crates on CSGO. Well, I did sell my weapons crates. I sold, I think $14 worth.
For $1 million.
$1 million. No, it was only 14, and I had just enough money to buy a lightly used, or I forgot what the name of it is, but I bought a skin for my M4A4.
Is that the giant walkers they used on Hoth?
No, that's the AT-AT.
Oh, that's right.
All-terrain assault tyrant. I don't know what that stands for. But I know they're made by Corellia. That's the important part. No, I
Wow.
bought a skin.
Do they also make the ATST?
The ATST all-terrain static transport? I don't know.
They're not very static.
ATST was the chicken walker.
Oh, okay.
AT was the Imperial Walker.
All-terrain armored transport.
There you go.
Yeah, so
There
let's
you go.
look up. Yeah.
What does the ATST stand for
Let's
then,
look.
though? 'Cause now I'm
All-terrain
at loss.
scout transport.
Oh, but they weren't transporting anything except for scouts. Okay.
And actually, it says in here, also known as scout transport, scout walker, or derisively as a chicken walker.
Chicken walks.
Yeah, it's
I
like
know the derisious term. It's so derisious.
yeah. I do like chicken. Chicken is delicious.
So delicious. Okay, that's too much. But no, I totally lost my train of thought. No, I sold my two crates. I sold 2 early crates that I had achieved in CS:GO, and I sold them for over $6 a piece. And these are just digital. This is lines of code that you have to actually pay to access. So even if you bought this crate from me, whoever bought it from me, and I put it on the market, and so I didn't actually make the exchange with an individual, like the market did the transaction. But somebody actually paid for $6 for a crate that they then had to pay money to get a key to open. Now they might have gotten a skin out of that crate that could have been worth $50 to $100 or $500, depending on. It's all gambling, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
But I sold these crates. I sold 2 crates, and like I said, I got about $14 out of it, $14. And I bought the skin for my M4A4, which is basically like, I don't know, it's like the standard weapon that this counter-terrorists use in CSGO, the M4A4. But it's called Desolate Space, and it's got this, it's like a blue and pink kind of skin for this gun, but it's got this spaceman on it. And he's in a spacesuit, but instead of it there being a dude inside, it's a skeleton.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Nice.
and so I know, man. Like, so I started playing a lot more CS:GO after I got that skin, just so I could.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When you're playing, you can hit F on the keyboard, and it lets you observe your skin, so you can like look at your gun. And I just like look at my gun.
You're like on the battlefield. You're like, look at my gun. This is nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Look at it. Yeah, and then I die. Yeah, it's
Right, and then you
inevitably
die.
what happens. And then somebody picks up my gun, and I'm all jealous. Like, dang it, they got my gun. I paid good money for that gun.
wait, can that happen?
So yeah,
No. Do you lose your gun like that?
No, they can only play it until they die.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
okay.
so you drop your gun, and so like next round I could have my gun. I could get my gun again.
I was gonna say,
and they
'cause that-
actually might
that would
still
be-
have my gun, but as long as until they die, yeah, then they have possession of it.
Oh.
And some of the guns
Isn't
actually
that
have
like
kill
a-
counters.
So if you have your gun and they have your gun, doesn't that like present a conflict in the space-time continuum?
It does, and that's where it gets really awkward because we all, I guess, just somehow agree that it's okay to have a duplicate. In fact, it says if okay, like, let's just say hypothetically, I have my gun, the Desolate Space, the beautiful dead astronaut gun, and I die, and somebody picks it up, an enemy or a friend picks it up, and they use it, and they don't die, and then the next round begins. And then I select that gun again, and so I've got the Desolate Space, beautifully majestic dead astronaut skin, and my friend and or opponent has the same gun. It'll still say, if I die and I observe that character, it'll still say that they're carrying Brocanis's M4A4
Wow.
Desolate Space. So it'll tell me or tell anybody that's watching that they're carrying somebody else's gun.
Huh.
Yeah, and I always get I get a little jealous. I'm a little jelly every time I see that.
Do you have a name for it?
Oh, my Desolate Space gun?
Yeah, or is it just Desolate Space?
I just call it Desolate Space. I probably should come up with a pet name because I pretty much buy it every time I'm CT. I buy it and I look at it and I get shot eventually and let somebody else pick it up.
I'm reminded of, did you watch Firefly?
I did. I love that show.
Okay,
I don't think we actually ever talked about it on the podcast.
I don't think so either, but yeah. So
I really love that show.
There's one time in one episode where Mal unwittingly gets married, and Jane wants to trade his gun for Mal's wife, and Mal, says something that's like, you can't just trade people like that. She's got a name. And Jane says, my gun's got a name. Call her Vera. It was such a great moment, but that's what I feel like in this conversation.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much the same thing. I feel like Jane related to this M4A4, but I'll tell you real quick. I mean, I know we're way off track, but I'll tell you that I thought when I bought this skin, I thought it was going to include the silencer. It doesn't.
Oh.
I bought the M4A4 skin, not the M4A1S skin. So there is no silencer included, so I have to use it without the silencer. That's the only problem. But other than that, and I never really used the M4A4. Mm-hmm. I always use the M4A4 or the M4A1S, the silenced version of the M4. So anyway, it's thrown off my game, but it's caused me to have to learn how to use the M4A4, and I'm getting a little better with it. And I have the beautiful image on my gun that I can look at occasionally before I'm shot. And yeah, it's good. It's been good. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Playing some CS:GO. I started playing a little bit of StarCraft. I know you don't like hearing about that, but
StarCraft.
But I'm still in the gold league there, and I'm not really progressing past that because I'm afraid that if I learn more, eventually I will become, I don't know, a zombie. I don't know. It's a game. I'm a very competitive gamer, so I've been focusing.
Okay, that's where you're going.
Too competitive.
Okay. So you saying you're afraid to learn more? All right. So I've been watching our friend Jeff Adam, who has appeared on the program before, in our Great Realm Race episode, but he's we try to support each other on Twitch quite a bit. And we do our Tuesday night Realm stream. We co-stream this thing, and so he and Charlotte stream on their channel, and I stream on Techno Funk Boy's channel. But I've been watching him play Bloodborne. I've never played this. Have you played this game?
No, never even heard of it.
It's kind of like this Victorian England type of a setting, but it's a horror game, and you're just the whole town is just overrun by creatures. I don't know the lore of this at all, but what he was explaining to me is that it draws really, really heavily off of Lovecraft, and I know you're a huge Lovecraft fan, and so it has this element in it that this measure in the game of insight, how much insight you have, and as you progress through the game, you gain more insight, and the more insight you have, the enemies start looking different. They start looking as they really are. And he was showing me some areas in the game where like if you come through really early and you have very low insight, you just see this just kind of this, thing happening that you can make no sense of. But the more insight you have, it's like this demon type creature that's actually sitting in kind of a nearby parallel dimension or something like that. And the more insight you have, the more you realize what's going on, and then you can start seeing these things. And the game gets harder as you're understanding more of what you're really fighting. And
Wow.
I thought it was just this fascinating idea. And so I've never played this game. It's one of the I don't know if it's directly related to the Souls games or just very, very similar. But it's
What's it called again?
Bloodborne.
Bloodborne.
Yeah, it is. It's one of these kind of brutally hard games that just take a ton of practice to really get good at.
Yeah.
But it is, I'll have to shoot you the link to Jeff's channel and you can check out some of the VODs on there because it is just this gorgeous game. And I mean, anything that's drawing off of Lovecraft, I'm just a sucker for that stuff. It's a great
Lovecraft genre.
Yeah, just Lovecraft just like created this universe that has so much depth and is so unexplained and just, there's so much there to play with. And it's really, really cool. So, as we're talking about a bunch of games that are not retro games, I thought I'd throw in one more.
No, dude, no, that's really cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. I am a big Lovecraft fan, and in fact, even tonight I was I have a book which is the collection of Lovecraft's it's volume 7 of his letters because he was a prolific letter writer, and so I have the ones between him and Robert Bloch, who's also a horror, I guess the American Psycho or I think Psycho. Anyway, and so I was reading some
books
some of the
that
letters.
you don't know the name of.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but no, dude, it's awesome. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Looks cool.
That's really neat. So, well, I've been continuing in Zelda II, and of course, our listeners will know that we're kind of right at the beginning of a series on Zelda II. And this came about because I'm using September, specifically Saturday mornings in September to try to play through the game. I owned it. I owned it as a kid. I bought it after I had my Super Nintendo. So I was really late in buying both Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. A Link to the Past was the first Zelda game I ever owned. But I went back and got Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, and I didn't finish either one of them. I got a ways into Zelda 1, but I didn't finish it, but I got just nowhere in Zelda 2. And it really didn't appeal to me at the time, so committed with some Facebook friends to dig into the game this month, and I just got through the Ocean Palace, and so there's been 2 times in the game that I've save scummed, and I've been trying to do that very, very sparingly, but I also don't want to just get overly frustrated with the game. But this morning, on Saturday was the second of those times. And so most of this was my fault because I got to the boss's chamber with like 0 magic, half-life, and no extra lives. And so if I died, then I was going to have to transport way back to the beginning of the game and then kind of go back, walk my way back to the palace. And so I decided I was going to save scum it, just to get through the thing. But it was additionally challenging because I had 0 magic and half health. And so the boss to this dungeon is Guma, and he's just this giant barbarian type guy with a mace that he swings around and chucks at you. And when you don't have the jump spell on, the window to kind of jump in and stab him and get away before he swings the mace is very tight. And you can only take 3 hits because you're at half health. When you have no access to the shield spell either, it's a little challenging. And so he killed me 51 times.
Wait, how many times?
51.
Oh man,
that'd be 50. That'd be 5-1. Yeah. So yeah, it was a little brutal. But I finally got through it, and so after that, there's only 2 palaces left in the game, and so I'm really hoping that, I got 2 Saturdays left in September. Depending on how much I have to save scum those bosses, we might do 1 palace per weekend, but it does look promising that I'll actually get through it. But that kind of leads into our topic today, which is Zelda 2.
Zelda 2. We were talking. Yeah. So what do you do, man? What's the next step?
What's the next step?
How do you beat it?
Oh, you kill things. I guess we need to go into spoilers things. You kill your shadow is what you do. But we're going to back up a little bit. So this is what I just gave. Okay. This is by retroactive spoilers. This is what we planned to do today. We planned to do this whole show on the history to the production of the game, and its impact on the series as a whole, and how it fits into the series, because Zelda timelines are complicated depending on which one you subscribe to, because there's several. But yeah, I got researching, and we're going to take one tiny little aspect of that because I kind of got excited about it. And so I think we're going to do that when we get back from the break.
Cool.
Hey, this is Phil from Phil's Gaming Emporium, philsgamingemporium.com. With all this talk about Zelda 2, I gotta tell you, I've caught the fever. I am ready to play this game. I'm ready to get you your hands on this game right now. This is such a classic. They made it out of solid gold. That's right. They didn't use plastic. They used solid gold. And so, as a special, if you buy it from us, you're just going to pay the going rate for the gold. You're not even going to pay for the amazing game that's inside. So you get the gold, you get the game for free. What a deal. So, the game weighs about 5 ounces. We multiply that by the going rate for gold today, and you can have your hands on this game made of solid gold. Play it tonight for $1,200. philsgamingemporium.com. We'll see you there. Okay, and we are back. So, I want to get into the history of Zelda 2 a little bit. Not the history of the game itself, but the lore behind the game, because this is like the world really starts expanding in Adventure of Link. In The Legend of Zelda, you are dealing with one tiny part of Hyrule. And very famously, you can actually find that segment of Hyrule in the Zelda 2 map, and it's tiny. Because Hyrule obviously is a lot bigger than that small little segment of it. So if you look at the map, you can actually find the basically the entirety of the Zelda 1 map in one basic corner of the overall map. But what happens is in The Legend of Zelda, I always thought this was kind of weird until I really started looking at the story, because it's not something I had looked into before. But, supposedly, Zelda breaks apart the Triforce, and you're collecting pieces of it, and then you go face off against Ganon, right?
Right.
You're still there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna be talking for a while. If you need to leave, that's fine.
No, I'm sorry. No, I was it's riveted.
But at the end of Zelda, you hold up a Triforce, and Zelda holds up a Triforce. And there's a reason for this. And I, without going into the story and all that, I just thought that was weird. But there's actually 3 Triforces, which should be obvious to us because they're called the Triforce. But
right.
Ganon himself had the Triforce of Power, and he has stolen it, and he was trying to first of all find the Triforce of Courage, which is missing, but he was also trying to get the Triforce of Wisdom from Princess Zelda. The Triforce of Wisdom is the thing that in Legend of Zelda 1 she shatters, spreads across the world, so he can't get it. And that's what you are collecting, so that you have that to reveal Ganon, so that you can defeat him. But that means that there's only two Triforce there. So fast forward to the Adventure of Link, and when Link turns 16, the symbol of a Triforce appears on his hand, and he's trying to figure out what that is that causes that. And he's introduced to this much older story, and backing up many years, there was this king who had 2 children. The girl was called Zelda, Princess Zelda, because every princess in this universe is called Zelda. And the prince,
that's like another name for princess.
Apparently, no, not in reality. I think depending on the timeline, a lot of people think that all the princesses are actually named after this particular princess, but I think I've seen theories on the timeline that go back further than this Princess Zelda, and there were other Princess Zeldas. There are a lot of... Okay, this is the short version to understand the timeline of A Legend of Zelda. There are many princesses named Zelda, and there are many heroes named Link. And they're not necessarily the same ones unless they specify that they are the same ones. So this is the same Link from A Legend of Zelda because it's specified that it is. But, and I'll say, it's like A Link to the Past. I mean, we all thought that was like an earlier adventure of this Link, and most of the timelines I see have this as a completely different Link too. But Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link are the same ones, and this is the same princess. But going back in time, a very long time, there was a different Princess Zelda, and there was her brother, the prince, and the king who was dying, and is leaving his throne to his son. The prince is looking for the Triforce, and he cannot find the Triforce of Courage, and it's really driving him crazy. And this magician comes to try to help, and the magician tells him that the king, who's now dead, told Zelda something about this Triforce, and maybe we need to get it out of her. And so then the prince confronts Zelda about it. Zelda, won't say anything. Then the magician threatens Zelda with a spell that would put her in a deep sleep. And then the prince kind of recoils in horror as the magician is using his magic to attack his sister, and he tries to stop the magician by attacking him, but it's too late. Zelda falls into a deep sleep. Yeah. And the magician keels over dead. Now, Zelda is then locked away in this tower, and
asleep.
And modern day Link is escorted into this locked room where she's still there. And so we now have a new Zelda that he is trying to save. That's different than the Zelda that he just saved. So one Link, two Zeldas. He's then told that this symbol on his hand is the mark of one who is worthy to find the Triforce of Courage. But the Triforce is hidden in this specific location, this remote location in Hyrule. But to get into that palace, you have to break, basically break the magical seals that are closing it off. And you have to go to these 6 palaces and break those seals. Meanwhile, the minions of Ganon, who is defeated, right? Have figured out that they can revive Ganon with Link's blood. And so they set out to try to kill Link while he's on this adventure. And that's why, and a lot of people point this out, if you die in Adventure of Link, the game over screen says the return of Ganon, and it has this just wickedly cool portrait of Ganon that's just caused nightmares in children. It's really awesome. But Ganon doesn't actually appear in the game. But that's why if you die, then the minions of Ganon have your blood and they can revive him. But of course we do not want that to happen. We want to survive. All right, so you get you go forth and you face off against all these palaces, and you finally get to the last palace and you defeat the Thunderbird, which is just the guardian, and you go in and you find this dude, this guy, wizard type of a guy, he's like the guardian of the Triforce, and he does this little thing, and all of a sudden the last battle of the game is this battle against your own shadow. And
so the little thing he does, is that like a dance?
No. It's like a spell.
He doesn't do a little dance?
No, that would be really awesome. If they ever remade this game, I think that would be a solid choice.
Okay. Just because when you said it like that, I was kind of thinking, well, he does this little thing, and I'm imagining this little dance he does, like a little cute twirling dance.
Right.
But he doesn't do that. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So there is a cheap way to defeat Shadow Link or Dark Link. Dark Link has appeared in several of the games since then, but this is the first appearance. There is a cheap way to beat him, but if you fight him the way the game intends, it is like the most epic sword duel in retro game history. It's ridiculously hard, but you've gotten these amazing sword skills to this game because this really is a game about dueling. And we're gonna talk more about that aspect of the game in a later episode, but it's a game about dueling, and so you've figured out the techniques by now, and so you and Dark Link can go at it for a very long time, and it's really really cool. Or you can crouch in a corner and defeat him pretty easily. But that's not the intended way. And so, when I get there, I'm going to save scum it and try the hard way, and also probably just give up and do the easy way.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, though. I mean, that's what you need to do.
Right. So these are the things that are interesting to me. So this immediately pops questions into my mind. What happened to the old prince? Who in the world was that magician? Who is this guardian of the Triforce? And then there's one thing in the manual that I'm just endlessly fascinated with, and I just stood there and staring at it. So this background story is in the manual, and it's illustrated. And the scene where the prince is confronting Zelda about the Triforce, you see the magician behind the prince, but the magician seems to be the prince's shadow, or coming out of the prince's shadow. And there's a ton of speculation on this. As far as I know, this is never explained. But some people were saying that
she is the magician.
The prince, not Zelda.
I mean, sorry.
Yeah,
the prince is the magician.
Right. So
oh my.
that could be. It could be that he's possessed.
Oh, even worse.
But I have a theory on this, and this is what I'm really interested. So, moving backwards a little bit, there is a manga of the game that is not canon at all, but speculates along these lines too. So in this manga, the magician is still alive and is kind of shadowing, that pun intended, shadowing Link. And at the end, you fight him, and then you unmask him, and you realize that Link sees both the image of the prince and the image of Ganon. There has been a lot of speculation that is not, that's not canon at all. But there has been a lot of speculation that magician was kind of possessed with the spirit of Ganon. We see that in A Link to the Past, with Aghanim. Aghanim is set up as the main villain of the game, until you realize that he's just been playing host to Ganon the entire time.
A puppet, a marionette of some sort.
Yeah. Spoilers. Retroactive. These games are really old. If you don't know these things, I don't know what to tell you. But so there's been a lot of speculation of that. And then we get to the Triforce Keeper. Who is this guy? And there has been, again, speculation. As far as I can tell, it has not been explained. But there's been speculation that this guy is actually the same magician.
The Triforce Keeper? Wait, wouldn't he be like an alternate Link?
No, he's just there. He's the guy who does a little dance and then summons Shadow Link.
Oh, okay.
So this is where my theory comes in.
Okay. Is this unique to you?
I did not find this anywhere. This game is what, like 30 years old now. I can't imagine that no one else has had this theory, but in my research,
somebody's laid in bed at night thinking about it.
Probably yes, because this is what I'm doing now. Here's my theory: that the prince was being put through the same test that Link is, and he's fighting against himself, and the magician is just that same dark prince, the shadow prince that you are facing off with. I'm kind of leaning toward the magician was nothing but that that conduit for the test of courage that you're facing off with. But the prince failed. And so he was not given the Triforce of Courage. And that's why you succeed. I just find it amazingly fascinating that this image is in the manual of that magician coming out of the prince's shadow. And it's not mentioned even in the text that this is a thing. You know, it's just like this little hint that's in there of this really mysterious past where, you know, stuff was going on. And that's the thing about this game that I'm really interested in. Stuff is going on that I don't think the prince understood, and I don't think Link understands. And I think that's why it's not explicitly told to the audience. Is because the story that's being told is much, much bigger than Link and much, much bigger than that prince. But it's something that they're playing a part in, and you are seeing their part in it, but you're not seeing the full thing told.
Wow.
And so I think, I mean, you know, it's like, I always really enjoyed reading little stories in the instruction manuals. But going through this, I think there's a depth in there that is starting to hint at the just massive depth of the Legend of Zelda lore that has like literally spread out over generations. And despite the fact that, you know, elves have a lot of trouble naming their sons anything but Link, apparently. And their daughters anything but Zelda, apparently. You know, there's so much story there. And that's why it's led into so much speculation on the timeline. How do all these things fit together? And there are some versions of the timeline with like, you know, all like timeline splits, which when we get to Ocarina of Time, we'll have to dig into, because the ending of Ocarina of Time just really messes with stuff, you know? And so there's been a lot of speculation that the timeline split there and that we're dealing with alternate realities. There are some theories that are in single reality timeline, and they kind of go all over the place, and they're really, it's a rabbit hole that I found myself going down that I told myself I wouldn't go down, because
you were like, this is a rabbit hole, I'm not going to go down it.
Yes.
Too late.
Right. And the reason I didn't want to go down this, because I love lore. I love game lore. But the reason I didn't want to go down this is because Miyamoto himself would think it's stupid, because he does not like this much depth in his story. You know, between Mario, between Zelda to Donkey Kong, he's just like, is it fun? Okay. I mean, I guess there's a story. Yeah, go save the princess, whatever. The point is it's being fun. The point is not drawing out timelines, you know? And so I've tried to stay away from it just because I feel Miyamoto frowning and shaking his head at me.
So I've pulled up this Zelda timeline, and it's flippin' complicated, dude.
It really is.
And I don't know if this is probably not. It's not definitely not an official one, but it goes down until the hero is defeated or the hero is successful.
Right, and that's Ocarina of Time.
And then, yeah, that's the last thing before it is Ocarina of Time, and so
right.
Then you have. So and then like it branches down from there to like 6 or 7 other branches, and so it's it's a complicated timeline. But you know, I mean, that gives a depth. There's a special depth to the to the universe, and I mean, it's frustrating, you know, and whatever, you know, if the creator didn't envision that, that's fine. I mean, it's kind of like
it is still fun.
It's fun, yeah, and it's like if it can be inferred, then go for it, you know. Right. And it looks like this one's pretty pretty detailed.
Well, yeah, and the reason is Ocarina of Time shakes things up so much is because it is a time travel game. And so there's actually different ways things play out based on, what happens, what you do, and, how you come to the end. And so, yeah, that's the point, that everything splits apart, narratively. And it's so, it from there, yeah, you see it splitting into, the basically three. You're probably looking at the same kind of thing I am. This seems to be like kind of the popular one. Whether the hero is defeated or the hero is successful, but is he successful in the child era or in the adult era? Again, it's a time travel game.
Right.
And so
Right.
you can defeat Ganon as a child or as an adult. And different, that plays out differently. And so, so things play out from there and can get very, very detailed.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it has Breath of the Wild is if you beat as a child in the post-convergence era.
Oh, see, now that's
You have-
interesting. Okay. All the stuff I was looking at did not have Breath of the Wild in it yet. And
Well, there is a star by it that says predicted before the game release.
oh,
So this
Yeah.
they might have thrown it in there knowing it was coming out, but they were just too eager to. Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, will be the explanation of the downfall timeline, says somebody. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting, dude. It's a very complex timeline. Well, I mean, dude, any time in any universe you start dealing with time,
right.
it's gonna get crazy. I mean, but it's fun though. Like
Yeah.
we love that for some reason, because I think time is a variable that we recognize as mortals, that it doesn't, that it can be affected. It is changeable. I mean, depending on your decision in a frame of time, it's going to create
Yeah.
another universe, or it's going to create an alternate set of realities. And that's, we've spent so much time as a culture, or as cultures, that's just, I guess, especially recently too, it seems like that's kind of in the last couple decades, time travel has really been a hot button topic. You have Terminator 2, Terminator and but then you have like
Did you say Terminator 2 as in Terminator also, or specifically Terminator 2? Because that's been a few Terminators back.
I was thinking Terminator 2 as in like the numeral 2. But I guess it started
disagree.
with Terminator.
Well, Terminator 2 is the best of the series, so.
Yeah, that's why I referenced it, which is actually based on a Harlan Ellison story. But anyway, no, I think this whole, I mean, you just get into some really complex, cool stuff. I think my favorite time travel, I mean, this is totally going off track here, but just talking about it, 12 Monkeys.
that movie's so good.
It's
I
such
really
a
like
good
that.
time travel movie because it's so weird, and like at the end you have like he sees himself get shot, and you're like, what? Okay,
Spoilers.
I just ruined
After
that
the
movie
fact,
for
we're
anybody
gonna-
that hasn't seen it yet. If you haven't seen it,
Right.
now you don't have to. It's a great movie though. But anyway,
Yeah. But and also, this is a problem. This is a problem developed by a series of games that at first were very connected and then became a lot more disconnected. That's created by a guy who's an absolute genius, but did not care to make this stuff make sense. But there are so many of great Zelda fans that wanted to
we're
make
like, dang
sense.
it, we're gonna fit this
Right.
into the mold here.
Yes, and demand that it makes sense. And so, that I mean, it's fun. I mean, all of this is a lot of fun, and despite the fact that Miyamoto does not really approve of stories all that much or role-playing game elements, you two would get along so well. He thinks role-playing games are dumb. But there's a lot of story in this game, and there's a lot of role-playing stuff in this game.
There's a lot of dumb stuff in this game.
But I mean, he's putting this history in there, and then we want to see more of it, and we want it to make sense. And it all kinds of starts when with the realization that there are more than one Links and there are more than one Zeldas, and you just really confusingly at the end of Zelda II, there are two Zeldas living at the same time in the same place. And the super old Zelda is making out with Link at the end of Adventure of Link. Spoiler.
Oh.
So I think he made his choice.
That. You just spoiled it for me. You just spoiled the entire series.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's how it ends. And actually, I think this is the final game in the timeline, if I remember it correctly. Depending on the timeline. So that's how the entire series ends. If that's the case, with Link making out with a super old Zelda, hundreds of years old, possibly. But good for him.
Does she still look younger, or is he just hanging out with an old lady?
No, I mean she's been, she's been asleep for a very long time.
Okay, so in stasis. Okay. So it's
You're right. Yes.
Okay. All right. Still weird.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Bad morning breath.
Yeah. Here's a Tic Tac. Here's a Tic Tac, honey. Okay. Let's go out of the town. Things are different now.
Okay. Yeah.
Things are different. Yeah. So like in the Hero Defeated timeline, I'm looking at one of the timelines right now. Adventure of Link is the final.
There's like a bajillion timelines, by the way.
I know.
Like a dozen.
I've pulled up. The three I've looked at so far, with split timelines, all have Link to the Past at the end of Hero Fails timeline. So who knows?
Well, I got this one here. It's called Zelda Multiverse Theory. Dude, this is intense, man.
We have
You
a call
opened
on
up
line one.
Drum, we are not going to take a call. We'll get them later.
Who's on line one?
No. We're running out of time, and you're like looking up multiverses. So
I just attached you my multiverse theory image.
Okay, let's take. Oh my goodness!
It's complicated.
Wow. So this multiverse theory, it does not have a time split.
No.
It has
different verses.
Right. So 5 different timelines. Again, Adventure of Link is the end point of one of them. So it feels like most people are agreeing on that point. This is fascinating.
This is like,
even here,
I've never even played this game that much.
Okay, so
or ever.
There's one timeline that does not have Ocarina at all, but the other ones are splitting at Ocarina. But instead of the hero fails, adult Link succeeds, or child Link succeeds, this one has adult Link succeeds, child Link succeeds, and then child Link fails and adult Link fails. And they have
Wait, which one is that one?
In column 3 of what you sent me.
Yeah.
So you have Ocarina of Time in all of them, and that's where 4 of these 5 timelines are splitting. And And I guess the reason for that is because they're putting what happens in that timeline is Breath of the Wild. And so I think Breath of the Wild in this case is making kind of a new split off of the failure timeline.
I sent you another one. This one says it's the official Zelda timeline, but it doesn't have.
Oh yeah, that's one of the ones I'm looking at. But
okay.
So here's the real question for all you fans out there.
Yeah, we need to redirect
because we have Zelda
ourselves.
fans who are screaming at us right now, and we can't hear you.
Sure.
And they're writing reviews and ratings and iTunes and in all caps.
Yeah, yelling,
why is this guy who has only beaten one Zelda game in his life talking about the timeline or the multiverse? He needs to stop. He needs to stop now. So that's going to be our topic. We want some feedback. We want to know what in the world we're looking at here. How Breath of the Wild is fitting in on all this. And so again, this was supposed to be the episode that was all like, and then in the late 80s, this person decided to make the game like this, and the difference was going to be this, and this. And I just saw an illustration in the instruction manual, like, whoa! And that has set me on a research binge, the likes of which I have not gone on this show before. So there's that.
we opened the floodgate of information, and now
I'm sure we're going to talk about this more.
timelines.
Right, because we have at least one more week of this game. And probably more. And so
we have time to maybe try to sew this into like some kind of messy quilt of information.
Right. Oh gosh. And clearly I'm going to have to play Ocarina of Time after I get through of Adventure of Link.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much committed yourself to playing Zelda games for a while.
For a while, yeah.
At least to give our audience some kind of assurance that we're not, a bunch of hacks. I mean, you have to be able to say like, dude, this is intense. I think we stumbled onto like something that's probably religious to some people.
Right. We're going to rename the podcast the Retro Zoo. Yeah. This is the Retro Zoo Zelda Timeline Theories podcast. Super show.
Yeah. I think that's right. We did it for the Realm Online. I mean, we got to do it for Zelda. I think. Yeah.
Oh goodness. So, for those of you who are looking at our cover art, I'm putting that image of the magician coming out of the shadow in there, but we'll also put a link to that in the show notes page.
Sorry. That was really cheesy. Will we put a link to the past too?
Yes.
I want to see that wizard coming out of the shadow.
Yeah, for sure. And I found it. I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a great illustration, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really cool. So that guy's the prince?
Yeah.
Why is he whipping everybody?
Well, this is where he's finally turning against the magician, so I think he was like threatening Zelda, and then the magician went too far, and now he's turning on him.
That's crazy, dude. It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
Oh,
dang.
Anyways, we really do appreciate you joining us today. Hey, tune in Saturday mornings to twitch.tv/technofunkboy, and you can help me finish my second Zelda game. Now that I'm an expert on all things Zelda, the multiverse, the multi-retroverse.
Exactly.
But I really would appreciate you following us there. We're actually we were talking before the program about doing more on Twitch, and so please do follow me there. And otherwise, we will catch you with more Adventure of Link next week.
Yes.
The Retro Zoo Super Show is brought to you by the Techno Funk Boy. Follow us on Twitter at Techno Funk Boy, on Facebook at the Techno Funk Boy, and sign up for our email list at technofunkboy.com. Also look for us on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon for music. If you are so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast catcher. If you are not so inclined, you are obviously some sort of villain trying to conquer the world. Unowned music and gameplay clips are used for educational and critical purposes. Thank you for listening. Keep gaming. Unless you have responsibilities that need to be done at this time, then you can game later.